And welcome to 7 Eyewitness News right here on Win TV. Thank you for joining us. Of course, we continue this afternoon as we did yesterday, focusing on Hurricane Sandy. Now, thankfully, at least based on initial reports, no nationals were hurt in any way by Hurricane Sandy that struck the United States during the course of last night and this morning. However, the devastation was indeed immense. We will be making contact with several individuals again from the United States, including, of course, our Win TV correspondent, Nolan Hunt, the U.S. Ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Dr. Neil Parsan, Ms. Nan Rangulam, and another resident who was also affected by a particular area that's close to the sea. So we're going to keep abreast of this as there have been updates throughout the course of the night and today. Development, actually the hurricane is now basically threatening Canada. We're going to try and get some updates on that as well. So just to let you all know, the death toll thus far, at least the reported death toll thus far, 26 individuals. And of course, it may very well rise as, of course, as cleanup efforts are on the way. One report also stated that an 8-year-old boy was one of the casualties. So a really tragic time indeed. The United States president came out today, of course, calling on all citizens to come together during this trying time to rebuild the United States, and particularly the areas that were affected by Hurricane Sandy. All right, so that's the latest on that. Of course, it is really about a recovery effort at this point in time. The Prime Minister also sent out a press release stating that this country will do whatever it takes to try and assist those affected by the hurricane. So we're going to make contact after the break, of course, with Mr. Neil Parsan. We spoke to him before. He also stated as well, there's some of the images from last night and this morning in relation to the hurricane. He also stated as well that remember he had stated publicly that people can call him. He gave out his email address, his phone number, and he says, interestingly enough, let's say he said he received somewhere in the vicinity of 50 calls between, let's say, midnight last night and this morning, and early this morning, and half of those calls were actually from people in Trinidad and Tobago trying to make contact with their relatives in New York. Again, just to reiterate the point that based on all initial reports, no national actually injured during the incident, but mainly it was more due to infrastructure damage or property damage. So we're going to get all the details later on, and we're going to, of course, link up with the 4 individuals I mentioned to get an assessment of how things are at this point in time. Very interesting. Now we're getting pictures throughout the course of the day as well, and this is one was actually sent by a relative of one of our reporters. Let's go to the picture. This is how bad things actually got. This is a picture of a small shark that ended up in the yard of one of the homes, one of the hundreds or thousands of homes affected by the hurricane. I should safely say thousands of homes. So and this is a small one. God knows what may have washed up in other homes, even bigger than this, because of the magnitude of the hurricane, as they call it, a superstorm. I just found this picture to be so very interesting, but I'm really grateful that the death toll is not a large one. It is really unfortunate that any lives were lost, 26 lives lost. And of course, on behalf of all of us here, not just at Win Communications, but throughout Trinidad and Tobago, we send condolences to their families and friends of those 26 individuals who lost their lives in the hurricane last evening. So let's take a short break. When we come back, we continue with our focus on Hurricane Sandy, and we try and make some connections with our brothers and sisters in New York, get an assessment of how things are at this point in time. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back, welcome back. Well, we will be your eyes in Trinidad and Tobago as we keep our eye on Hurricane Sandy. As you know, it ravaged through the United States, particularly the New York area. 26 lives were lost. We will be making contact, of course, getting, calls to the United States at this time. It can be a tedious task, but again, all individuals, we are going to try our best to make contact with them to get some feedback, of course, as to how things are presently. I know relief efforts have been underway since early this morning once things subsided. And I believe from what latest report that we received, they've been moving quite quickly and efficiently. So congratulations to the emergency response teams in the United States. Well, of course, this first segment, we focus on Hurricane Sandy. Well, TNT U.S. Ambassador Dr. Neil Parsons says nationals in the United States are safe following last night's devastation caused by Hurricane Sandy. Now, speaking to 7 Eyewitness News, Dr. Parsons says there is flood all over, debris and power outages. He says the locals living abroad were affected as their properties were damaged.
Were affected by this phenomenon. They weren't spared. They weren't isolated from the event. Right now, the focus is really on the safety and security, and the safety in terms of loss or life or limb, and in terms of accounting for Trinidadians. As of now, there have been no reports of fatalities involving Trinidad and Tobago nationals. As of now, no reports of any loss of limb. And that is the focus over the next 48 hours to really ascertain the safety issue.
He says homes and apartments were flooded out, but it is up to U.S. officials to step in to assist.
And emergency services to provide that sort of assistance. Right now, the roads, you cannot go out on the streets. I know it may be lifted by about 2 p.m. Tuesday in Washington, D.C. The times are varying depending on the boroughs you're at in New York to allow a bit of mobility.
Now, he says he has received at least 50 calls thus far from Trinidadians, but from those living here at home inquiring about their relatives in the United States.
In many cases, cell phones are not working. Internet is down in some cases. So, there's a bit of anxiety. They can't reach them. They want to know if they're okay. So I've been collecting that information. I've given out my email, and let me give it to you. It's nparsan@gmail.com. And my cell number is 202-905-0555. And I'm asking those who want to use it, please text.
In some other news, while Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has expressed concern once again for those living in the United States who have been affected by Hurricane Sandy. This following Trinidad and Tobago U.S. Ambassador Neil Parsons' indication that over 7 million homes are without electricity and 29 deaths being recorded thus far. So I stand corrected, not 26, 29 thus far. The ambassador says there was extensive damage due to severe flooding and assessments are still being conducted. The Prime Minister has reiterated her support for the authorities there in their efforts to ensure that the crisis is managed effectively. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar has taken note of the outstanding work being done by the fire services, the National Guard, the police, and others to minimize loss of life and property. She said, quote, "It is commendable that people are willing to risk their own lives and their safety to ensure that their countrymen and women survive this terrible ordeal." The ambassador says officials have been in touch with citizens to ensure that they are supported in any way possible until things return to normalcy in their homes and communities. End quote. The Prime Minister assured that she would continue to keep abreast of developments in Canada and the United States. Well, in some other news now, as Hurricane Sandy battered the United States, the CEO of Office Disaster and Preparedness Management, the ODPM, Dr. Stephen Ramroop, says Trinidad and Tobago is not ready for a weather event of such magnitude. Speaking on the Sunrise Morning program, Dr. Ramroop explained that our previous experiences have proven this.
All in media, think about all the complaints that we have had. Houses blown off in Gasperillo, Claxton Bay. Remember them. Think about Cedras, houses blown off in Cedras, houses blown off in Laventil. There was a sporting complex in Tunapuna that was blown off. So when Laventil, for example, all the urban communities, if I have Sandy coming, every one of those persons will have to be evacuated.
Dr. Ramroop said that the ODPM needs to be given more power.
In Trinidad and Tobago, we do not have authorities. ODPM has no authority. The only time we can have authority if the president declares a disaster if he declares a disaster, the president, through the prime minister and the minister of national security, can authorize an agency, which will obviously be us. And in most countries, there's a Ministry of Civil Defense, right? In other words, there's a civil defense authority in most countries. And that is what's happening in the United States. FEMA is that authority, right? In Trinidad and Tobago, ODPM is supposed to be that authority, but we are not. We just...
Well, in a related story, as we return now to the United States, U.S. President Barack Obama visited the Red Cross headquarters in Washington today and said that food, water, and medicine will be distributed to those who have been affected by Hurricane Sandy.
The storm may have passed and the extent of the damage is becoming clear. What happens next, though, is not. President Obama has declared a major disaster in New York, freeing up federal money to rebuild a battered city. New York is the financial center of the world, but its stock markets are now closed for a second day. Many major financial institutions are without power. Businesses are boarded up and workers are staying at home. The damage could take its toll on an already fragile American economy, denting GDP by as much as 0.2%.
The key question is how long-lasting this is, how quickly the people can go back to work, they can start shopping, just go on with their daily lives. And that's a key variable. No one knows the answer to that. And that's going to depend whether this is a minor economic blip or a possibly longer-term negative problem for the economy.
But as the Commander-in-Chief, President Obama's next moves will be watched closely. A national crisis has the power to make or break his presidency, especially coming just a week before the election. Fresh in his mind will be the condemnation of George W. Bush when Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005. Then the authorities were criticized for a lack of preparation and slow relief and rescue efforts. But for Republican contender Mitt Romney, it's an equally difficult challenge. He cannot take control, yet can't look ineffective, nor can he use the hurricane for political gain. The real test will be in the coming days. If residents remain stranded without power and water, their patience will wear thin. Hurricane Sandy was historic. Its political fallout could be just as great.
Well, just to put this in some context, that package that you just saw actually was in relation to the economic impact, of course, already being felt with the stock market in New York was closed for yet another day due to Hurricane Sandy. Now, while New York is dubbed the financial sector center of the world, the economic impact from Sandy could rock the already fragile U.S. economy. And that, of course, was a story that you just saw a short while ago. We'll return now to that story surrounding the food, water, and medicine promised by U.S. President Barack Obama as he visited the Red Cross headquarters earlier on today.
We're now moving into the recovery phase in a lot of the most severely affected areas. New Jersey, New York in particular have been pounded by this storm. Connecticut has taken a big hit. Because of some of the work that had been done ahead of time, we've been able to get over 1,000 FEMA officials in place, pre-positioned. We've been able to get supplies, food, medicine, water, emergency generators to ensure that hospitals and law enforcement offices are able to stay up and running as they are out there responding. We are going to continue to...
Well, the impact has been unthinkable. The governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, spoke this morning at the news conference to address a number of the issues facing that state. Not only were millions of homes left without power, but 91 of their healthcare facilities as well. They are currently working on all of these problems and providing persons with shelters with necessary resources until more assessment can be done.
There are currently over 5,500 residents in state and local shelters as of our latest count. We are working to stand up shelters as we learn of new needs in addition to the 5 existing state-supported shelters, 2 at Rutgers, 2 at Monmouth, and 1 at Menon Arena in Morris Township, New Jersey. We are in the process of opening a 6th shelter at the Rutgers Athletic Center that could support nearly 2,000 people. We want to make sure people have enough food and water for a while, which is why we are working with the Salvation Army and the American Red Cross to bring in mobile kitchens to serve thousands of meals. Boxed lunches are being delivered to state shelters today. We are also using FEMA food and water resources. The National Guard has deployed and staged soldiers and airmen at the Freehold and Woodbridge armories for support of state-supported shelter facilities if needed.
The governor stated that the impact of Hurricane Sandy is twice as devastating as Hurricane Irene was.
This is, just so you understand the order of magnitude here, this is twice the number of impacted households as Hurricane Irene. Hurricane Irene was 1.2 million impacted households. This is 2.4 million impacted households. During Hurricane Irene, restoration took 8 days for full restoration. For Hurricane Sandy, the full restoration may in fact take longer.
Well, this time we take a short break. Of course, we continue our focus on Hurricane Sandy, but when we return, we take a look at some more local news. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News right here on WIN TV. Well, let's turn our attention now to home, and the Joint Trade Union movement was on the move again today, mobilizing support for the mass demonstration on Friday, November 2nd. This time, they were joined by the Highway Reroute movement. Now, OWTU President General Ansel Roger said last Friday's debate over the motion of censure against the Attorney General proved once again that the government's support is for their friends and not for the people.
The majority of people in the country are decent, law-abiding citizens who want to see the country go good. While Jack Warner would have some support, that is not significant to overturn the decision of the population that wants him to go.
Roger said that the nation was duped by the government during the election campaign.
People in Chaguanas West, like the people throughout the Trinidad and Tobago, they didn't vote for free party financiers. But while they were giving their support to those who solicited that support, they didn't know that they were giving that support to free financiers. And that is the extent to which the country was duped.
And joining the chorus, well, the Highway Reroute movement plans to take National Security Minister Jack Warner to court. Dr. Wayne Kublasing and members of the movement were on a mobilization campaign in Chaguanas this morning when he made the announcement.
Last week, Sunday, they entered with tractors and bulldozers into private property in Dede, the OAS Constructor, the Brazilian company, who already are doing illegal things in Trinidad and Tobago. They were the sole party to tender for this process. And they entered into private property, traumatized the people for 2 hours, and we are now going to take them to court. So this is to announce that we're going to take them and their cheese and butter partner, Mr. National Security Minister Jack Warner, to court.
Well, Dr. Kublasing criticized Minister Warner and the Attorney General Annan Rem-Logan for being partners in official misconduct and illegality. He said that the men have continually attacked law-abiding citizens.
Against the David and Mondazir Highway, we have acted always within the bounds of law. Ever since the Attorney General, the current Attorney General, and the current Minister for National Security entered this picture, they've attacked us over and over and over again.
In some other news now, CEO of True Value Supermarket, Govind Maharaj, says supermarket is faced with increasing prices every day from suppliers. Maharaj told 7 Eyewitness News that he will not be accepting any increases for zero-rated or VAT items at least until November 15th, when VAT is removed on all other basic food items. He says suppliers have been saying they have no choice but to increase their prices due to international factors.
So we have referred the proposed price increases to the Supermarket Association, who is sending them on to the Ministry of Trade. Recently, we have had increases of pasta, we have had increases of condiments, and other smaller items.
Maraj says there is a chance that some items will not be on supermarket shelves until prices can be validated by the suppliers.
In this period, we may run the risk, the period between now and November the 15th, we may run the risk of some items being off the shelves because the Supermarket Association is not accepting the price increases, and the suppliers who may be faced with legitimate price increases from their international suppliers may choose not to supply the product. We've had some proposals for price increases on rice, condiments to be specific, and a few smaller items.
The True Value CEO says supermarkets usually face the brunt of the increasing prices and are looked at as the bad guys.
For far too long, the supermarkets have borne the brunt of the public's discontent with price increases. And we want to make this process as transparent as possible so that if these price increases are legitimate, we will let the Ministry of Consumer Affairs and the Ministry of Trade validate them.
And the full interview with the True Value CEO will be aired tonight on Win TV's Market to Market at 8 p.m. with Judy Kanhai. Well, in some other news now, if you're not part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem. Well, this was the claim being made by Beetham residents who claim that businesses in the area are doing nothing to reduce crime but continue to complain about it. The residents say these businesses are aware of the gravity of poverty and crime in the area, yet none are lifting a finger to hire them. The point was raised at the Policing for People meeting in the Beetham yesterday evening.
To employ us or to partner with us as a community to assist us in developing our skills and talent.
And the Minister of National Security, Jack Warner, agreed, saying they can do more.
To me, that there are so many businesses which surround this community, and all you get, he says, is the waste, the effluent from the business. The idea that these very businesses which surround this area, that they don't contribute, but they are the ones who are most critical about the upsurge of crime. Their role is not only to take, but they must also give. Give employment, give advice, give training, give social support, and therefore together, collectively, we'll be able to build.
Invited these companies to give back to the community by attending the cultural fair on November 18th. He said they can begin to do their part for the betterment of the Beetham community. In some other news now, Anime Caribbean is currently hosting its 11th Animation and New Media Festival. The official launch of the event took place yesterday evening at the IMAX Cinema at 1 Woodbrook Place. The week-long festival will feature a number of activities, including storytelling, animation workshops, and animated shows. Special Education Minister Faisal Karim was at the launch, where he gave the feature address. According to him, the animation industry is one of the fastest growing globally.
It's considered as one of the fastest growing industries globally, with significant opportunities for all. One of the most successful companies in the world that has jumped to prominence is Pixar.
Minister Karim said over the years, many animation companies have been changing their business model to meet the demand of its customers.
Animation today is not about low-cost production or moving pictures based on stories, but now it is more so a representation of the culture, the expressions, the emotions, and the environment of the society around them, of which we in Trinidad and Tobago are boastfully proud of.
Turning attention now to the sister isle, where the Tobago House of Assembly is preparing to take the government to court. A lot of taking to court these days to enforce the independence vested to it under Act No. 40 for Forestry and State Lands. Now, this was disclosed by Secretary of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing, and the Environment, Councillor Gary Melville, on Tuesday. He made the comments at the distribution of letters of appointment to 20 honorary game wardens. The letters were distributed by Melville and Minister of Environment and Water Resources, Senator Ganga Singh, Melville noted that the National Reforestation and Watershed Remediation Program and its activities have been in operation under a Memorandum of Understanding since 2005 through community groups in 3 areas employing 100 workers. He explained that in line with the THA Act, the MOU was signed between the Ministry of Public Utilities and the Environment and his division in September 2005. However, during this year, changes were made to its mode of operation, replacing community groups with private contractors obtained through other agents in Tobago. Melville said there were now 2 competing groups of reforestation activities, adding that the MOU between the parties had long expired and therefore there was currently no legal basis for the operations of the program in Tobago. He said there was no communication with the THA on the issue and he had written the minister but to date had not received a reply. In an immediate response, Minister Singh said the issue originated before he took office and plans to meet with Melville to discuss the future of the program. We turn our attention now to what many are saying could be a dying tradition in Trinidad and Tobago. Chaguanas Mayor Orlando Negasa expressed concern over what he believes are dying traditions in Diwali. Among these traditions is that of bamboo bending. Mayor Negasa made the comments during Wind Communications' first ever bamboo bending event at the Monroe Road Recreation Grounds on Sunday.
I know Diwali in my days actually have a lot of bamboo. The diyas were placed on bamboo. And there are all sort of arches and designs that were made with bamboo all over the place. But I don't know, the culture probably is taking a different shift, where people are no more going into this bamboo bending.
And Negasa said what is even more disappointing is that the younger generation is not showing interest in these traditions.
We know that the Diwali center in central Trinidad, actually, the Ayodhya in central Trinidad is Felicity. And Felicity now, for the last 1 or 2 years, there's scarcely any bamboo bending. There are more designs, straight designs with lats and so on, where people rest their diyas on.
He, however, took the opportunity to congratulate Wind Communications on the initiative and its contribution to East Indian culture.
Let me congratulate Wind TV for the initiative. They are actually propagating as regards the Diwali celebration 2012. Recently, they had a very, very lovely function there, the launching of Diwali at Temple in the Sea.
Well, this time we take a short break. When we come back, lots more on Eyewitness News, of course, as we continue to keep an eye out for Hurricane Sandy. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. As mentioned, of course, we are keeping an eye on Hurricane Sandy. And joining us on the line, we have TNT U.S. Ambassador Dr. Neil Parson. Dr. Parson, a pleasant good afternoon to you. I know we spoke earlier on. How are you doing?
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Yewood and to listeners. I'm doing a bit better.
Well, I actually wanted to get an update since we last spoke as to how things have been going. Have you received more calls from nationals both here and abroad? And what is the consensus that you received thus far over the past 6 hours or so?
Yes, I've been receiving a lot of calls, a lot of emails, a lot of texts, and basically the calls have been sort of instructive with respect to what the nationals have been going through. A number of persons from Trinidad have been contacting me. You know, they're trying to get in contact with their relatives and friends, family, loved ones. And the infrastructure has been compromised, so that is proving a bit of a challenge.
I was not going to ask that. How challenging is that for you all?
And when the nationals have been contacting, they have been sort of explaining their plight. Many have been affected by floods, by damage to property, by damage to their vehicles, water damage to cars. And they have been expressing their concern and looking for some sort of assistance. But as indicated earlier, the priority right now for the next 48 hours, starting this morning and into tomorrow, would be ready to look at securing our citizens and accounting for no fatalities, no loss of limb, and ensuring that all is safe for nationals. There's still many orders on the streets not to go out in several areas. In DC, that was lifted at about 2 o'clock. Many services are still down, including train and in some instances buses. Most airports are still closed and flights have not been rescheduled as at 5 o'clock this afternoon.
There's a literal lockdown of the area. What I want to ask you, even though the U.S. officials, they are the ones responsible for the overall management of this recovery process, in terms of Trinidad and Tobago and the United States Embassy, do we have a team put together as well to assist in whatever way during these efforts?
Well, what we need to do, and which is what we have been doing all day, is really to create an inventory of those who are affected. So all the emails that are coming in, text messages, phone numbers, etc., we are compiling those and have been passing them on to the relevant offices or relevant jurisdictions so we can keep an inventory of them. Of utmost importance for us in the first 14 hours is to really account for the well-being of our citizens, and that will include liaising with heads of associations, calling individual members of the diaspora, heads of the NGOs, and those calls have been going back and forth throughout the day. And what we have also arranged for the office of the consulate in New York, they're on the 4th floor of a building. The first floor is still underwater. The building is locked down. So New York will also be closed tomorrow. So we are redirecting, and for the benefit of your listeners, if they can't get in touch with their loved ones, if there are emergency consular services, they can reach out to the Trinidad and Tobago Embassy in Washington, as well as the consulate in Miami. And if I may, I could probably give those.
Yes, please. Put them on the screen. Yeah, go ahead.
The embassy in Washington is 202-204-0812. And we can also be reached at ttembassy.com. And for the Miami consulate, it's 305-374-2199. And the email address is ttcgmiami.com.
TT what? CG?
ttcgmiami.com is the website, and all the information will reach to the desk of the Consul General, Dr. Anil Ramnaran. So we have sort of partitioned our responsibility in terms of emergency consular services, and we can be reached that way. We'll also be reaching out state by state to the various authorities in the state, including FEMA, Department of Health, the police services in some jurisdictions, to really get a sense of the numbers involved and really to pin down the involvement of Trinidad and Tobago nationals. But as at now, we have had no reports of fatalities and no reports of any serious injury to nationals of Trinidad and Tobago.
Dr. Parson, I know you also have a direct contact as well. Can you repeat that contact for members of the public, please, if you can?
202, sure, 202-905-0555. And my email address is nparsan@gmail.com.
Okay, my final question, at least at this stage, of course, of our discussion, we know for a fact that, of course, Canada is now under threat. Can you give us an update as to what's taking place in reference to in Canada?
Sure. I've been in contact with His Excellency Philip Boxer throughout the day. Canada, they are experiencing some very heavy winds, some heavy rain, and as at 2 hours ago, we have no reports of Trinidad and Tobago nationals being in any great distress. I was in contact with 2 or 3 members of the Canadian diaspora asking for similar points of contact, and those points of contact have been established with the consulate and the High Commissioner's office in Canada. And there has been 1 recorded death so far in Canada, and that occurred early hours of this morning. As at now, again, we have had no reports of any fatalities and or major injuries to nationals of Trinidad and Tobago in Canada.
And the latest out of the Hurricane Center, what's the status of the hurricane in terms of strength?
I understood there are bouts of 25 to 35 miles per hour winds. Washington is suspiciously calm right now.
Suspiciously calm.
That remains for most of the DMV, the Maryland, Virginia area as well. Right. But we are not out of the woods yet. The tail has not lashed. And up till late this evening, the storm should be moving. And it's actually it has broken up quite a bit. And we expect to be out of the woods by late this evening.
All right, Dr. Parson, thank you very much for giving us some moments of your time. I know you're very busy but thank you for giving the public an update as to what's happening. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Neil Parson, the AT&T U.S. ambassador, giving us an update. So I'm going to actually take a break, get these numbers typed up to put up on the screen during the course of the rest of the program, so you can actually take it down and, of course, try and make contact if you are concerned or have not made contact with your relatives in the United States as well. When we come back, that information and, of course, your calls up until 6 o'clock. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. Welcome back. I am not sure. I'm listening to my director. I believe he actually have one of our other someone line. Or can we take some calls prior, or can we wait? Shall we wait on the call from the United States? Let's take some one or two calls quickly while we wait for a connection to the United States for some more feedback. Caller Pleasant, good evening. You're on the air. Welcome to the program. Hello, good evening, caller.
Good evening, Sheldon.
Hi, good evening. Welcome.
While we in Trinidad sympathize with the American people and in particular the Caribbean people who in the USA, Sandy made havoc and, as I said, twice as Irene. But what amazed me is all the search and rescue operation and all the personnel getting together. They were so swift and ready for action. Are we in Trinidad ready? That has to be seen. Thank you.
Good point, because you heard Dr. Ramup even said it. He said it this morning, and he's actually said it countless times, even while on the segment on Eyewitness News, that even though they basically will be in a position as best as humanly possible, based on the resources that they have to deal with something like this, we are still basically years away from actually achieving that particular position in terms of emergency response to deal with the impact of a hurricane. And this is where, again, it all boils down to not just resources, but an understanding of the impact of a natural disaster as a hurricane or an earthquake. And I think that is a major part of it as well, that many of us are still not even aware. We see it all the time, and we see it every day with the impact, but we still don't have that sense of urgency within ourselves to actually deal with something like this. And that's something we need to be aware of. But again, I do admit we need a lot. We are years away from really being ready for something like this. I'm not saying plenty years per se, but we're years away. But I believe that, I hope, based on what I've been hearing by the ODPM and, of course, on the other response agencies, I am somewhat comforted that, they are aware of what needs to be done, and provisions are being put in place to get there as soon as possible. We return now to the United States, and we have a resident of New York City. We have his name as Kenny, I believe, one Kenny on the line, a resident of New York, to give us an overview of what took place in a certain part of New York. I want to get more details. Have him on the line. A pleasant good evening to you, sir.
Good day to you. How are you?
A pleasant good evening. Thank you for joining us, and I wish it was under better circumstances, but thank you for giving us a few moments of your time to just share with the local community as to exactly what's happening. Or tell us exactly where in the U.S. are you from, or New York are you from?
on the south shore of Long Island, like middle of Long Island on the south shore, right along the water.
So therefore, being that you are near to the water, I know Long Island got hit pretty hard. Tell us, based on what you've seen thus far, how extensive was the damage?
Very extensive. The damage is probably several hundred boats, some of them large yachts that have been destroyed and landed in people's homes right through the backyards.
Wow.
People, several feet of water in the homes, and several multi-million-dollar houses leveled to the ground.
Wow. Now, in the community that you live, how many would you say, based on that, of course, that you can tell me, are nationals of Trinidad and Tobago? Can you say offhand?
Probably not that many.
Not that many.
Not that many people from Trinidad live here, right?
All right.
No.
No. Tell us now.
A couple of neighbors, a couple of friends.
Okay. All right. Good. And everyone from who you know thus far, they are safe and all accounted for.
Yes, that's the good thing. Everybody is in one piece. Nobody's injured. It just looks like it's just property damage at this time.
Now, in terms of the response, now we've been getting various reports that the response and the recovery efforts thus far, it has been commendable. Do you agree that that has been the case, that they've been responding quite effectively in dealing with, of course, those who have been affected by the hurricane?
It's kind of hard for me to say because we really had no need for any emergency help, basically. We just pretty much started cleaning up and moving stuff around. So I can't really say. I see National Guard here, some soldiers, and a lot of police and fire department checking to see if people are okay. But luckily, they haven't had to really rescue anybody.
All right, and I know you mentioned, of course, and I think for us here in Trinidad and Tobago, for some, they may find it baffling somewhat to hear you say that boats were literally thrown about like toothpicks in people's backyards, and that's how powerful the actual hurricane was.
Yeah, the tide came in so fast that the people that took the boats out of the water to protect them got lifted off their blockings and then launched through the people's homes.
All right. At this time, in terms of electricity, are you still out of power? Do you all have power there at this point in time?
No. Supposedly 90% of the county still has no power.
And of course, there have been talks about food supplies and water and so forth. Are you all also in need of that as well in that area of Long Island?
Yeah, probably in a little while because with no electricity, the refrigeration's only going to last a little longer before all the food starts spoiling. Wow. And then we'll probably need to figure out something for food.
All right. Well, Kenny, I want to thank you very much for giving us an update, particularly in Long Island area. Of course, I know that was hit pretty hard by Hurricane Sandy, and I do hope that you and yours, and of course all living in the area, would recover as soon as possible from this tragic event. Thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Of course, Long Island being, of course, located near to the ocean, they would have felt the brunt to some degree of Hurricane Sandy. And, of course, I'm really glad everyone is okay. And we just received word as well that those locals or nationals living in that area of Long Island, that they are also accounted for. So thank you very much for that. Can we squeeze in one more call? Can we, Director? All right, let's squeeze in one more call before we go to the headlines at 6 o'clock. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Sheldon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sheldon, well, I had a good laugh yesterday that I didn't know in all these years looking at WIN TV that the Viagra was a forbidden or taboo word that we were not supposed to use, right? And look who were trying to correct me, the disrespectful rod of correction from Dabadi, who always have something unpleasant to say about the Prime Minister. And I want to tell the other caller, if you are upset with me calling every day, too bad for you. You are not going to stop me. And the same unions that you all are going to support on Friday, they are the ones that encouraging people. Clock your card, withhold your services, go out and sell your ice cream and go and run your taxi and do what you have to do. That is why the services in the hospital and right across every ministry is not going to get better. Never mind the government has changed, but the thinking is still there. You have a good evening, Sheldon.
Thank you very much for your comment. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we go to our headlines at 6 o'clock right here on WIN TV. Never a dull moment. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. Just to let you know, before we go to the news, that the numbers that was given by Dr. Neil Parsan, I'm going to actually have them up within the second hour of our program. Of course, so you can take note of them to contact or try and make contact with your loved ones in the United States. Well, TNT U.S. Ambassador Dr. Neil Parsons says nationals in the United States are safe following last night's devastation caused by Hurricane Sandy. Now, speaking to 7 Eyewitness News, Dr. Parsons says there is flood all over the place, debris and power outages. He says the locals living abroad were affected as their properties were damaged.
Trinbagonians were affected by this phenomenon. They weren't spared. They weren't isolated from the event. Right now, the focus is really on the safety and security, and the safety in terms of loss of life or limb. And in terms of accounting for Trinidadians, as of now, there have been no reports of fatalities involving Trinidad and Tobago nationals. As of now, no reports of any loss of limb. And that is the focus over the next 48 hours to really ascertain the safety issue.
He says homes and apartments were flooded out, but it is up to U.S. officials to step in to assist.
Services to provide that sort of assistance. Right now, the roads, you cannot go out on the streets. I know it may be lifted by about 2 p.m. Tuesday in Washington, D.C. The times are varying depending on the boroughs you are at in New York to allow a bit of mobility.
Dr. Parsons says he has received at least 50 calls thus far from Trinidadians, but from those living here at home, inquiring about their relatives in the United States.
In many instances, landlines are down. In many cases, cell phones are not working. Internet is down in some cases. So, there's a bit of anxiety. They can't reach them. They want to know if they're okay. So I've been collecting that information. I've given out my email, and let me give it to you. It's nparsan@gmail.com. And my cell number is 202-905-0555. And I'm asking those who want to use it, please text.
And Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has expressed concern for those living in the United States who have been affected by Hurricane Sandy. This following Trinidad and Tobago's U.S. Ambassador Neil Parsons' indication that over 7 million homes are without electricity and 29 deaths being recorded thus far. The ambassador says there was extensive damage due to severe flooding and assessments are still being conducted. The Prime Minister has reiterated her support for the authorities there in their efforts to ensure that the crisis is minimized or managed effectively. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar has taken note of the outstanding work being done by the fire services, the National Guard, the police and others to minimize loss of life and property. She said, quote, "It is commendable that people are willing to risk their own lives and their safety to ensure that their countrymen and women survive this terrible ordeal." The ambassador says officials have been in touch with citizens to ensure that they are supported in any way possible until things return to normalcy in their homes and communities. The Prime Minister assured that she would continue to keep abreast of developments in Canada and the United States. And as Hurricane Sandy battered the United States, the CEO of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management, Dr. Stephen Ramroop, says Trinidad and Tobago is not ready for a weather event of such magnitude. Speaking on the Sunrise Morning program, Dr. Ramroop explained that our previous experiences prove this.
All the media, think about all the complaints that we have had. Houses blown off in Gasparillo, Claxon Bay. Remember them. Think about Cedras, houses blown off in Cedras, houses blown off in Laventil. There was a sporting complex in Tunapuna that was blown off. So when Laventil, for example, all the urban communities, if I have Sandy coming, every one of those persons will have to be evacuated.
Dr. Ramroop said that the ODPM needs to be given more power.
In Trinidad and Tobago, we do not have authorities. ODPM has no authority. The only time we can have authority if the president declares a disaster. If he declares a disaster, the president, through the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security, can authorize an agency, which will obviously be us. And in most countries, there's a Ministry of Civil Defense, right? In other words, there's a Civil Defense Authority in most countries. And that is what's happening in the United States. FEMA is that authority, right? In Trinidad and Tobago, ODPM is supposed to be that authority, but we are not. We just...
More authority needed. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to keep our focus on the hurricane, but a lighter side. You know, amidst all the tragedy, sometimes you really have to try and smile through the adversity. And that's what we're going to try and do during our Offbeat News coming up next. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, Gangnam Style seems to be the new phenomenon of dance these days. It's, of course, mimicking riding a horse. Well, that's how you choose to ride a horse. So, lo and behold, I'm actually a bit surprised that the Gangnam Style found its way during Hurricane Sandy. Let me give you this story before we show you the clip. A local TV weather reporter in Norfolk, Virginia was ambushed. They say ambushed, but I wouldn't say ambushed. During a live stand-up on Superstorm or Hurricane Sandy. This when a pair of pranksters performing Korean pop stars Gangnam Style appeared behind the reporter. The clip of the men prancing along a windswept beach has made into an animated GIF and circulated on social media. Let's go to the clip. So here's the reporter doing his thing, and these two clowns decide to go Gangnam Style. You know, oh boy, God is a good God. Because that might have been the last of any style they may have done if that water was just a bit harder. Ah, yes. You must find the humor in this. And of course, director just slowed it down. Let's take a break, but before we go to our break and bring on our guest, let's go to our Tech Minute for today.
Researchers have designed a new ball camera that can bounce to produce a 360-degree view of a place. This is expected to help firefighters or security teams scout for dangerous environments. Researchers from Bounce Imaging developed a device containing a clump of cameras packed into a rubber shell the size of a tennis ball. The device called Bounce contains 6 cameras, and it comes equipped with infrared lens to build a full panorama of a scene even if there is poor lighting. When the ball is thrown into an unknown area, the cameras take 2 photographs per second and send them to a smartphone or laptop. The software then knits the images into a 360-degree view of the room. The Bounce founder says the idea for the device came to him after the Haiti earthquake in 2010. He saw the need for an exploration device that would be useful in environments like the damaged buildings of Port-au-Prince. At a few $100s, Bounce is much cheaper than the existing technologies used to image the inside of unknown areas. The device is still a prototype, but the founder says the finished product will be tested by the Special Weapons and Tactics teams and Massachusetts Police Departments in January. And that was your Tech Minute on the 7 Eyewitness News.
Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. This is our Sports Cap segment, and I'm joined by a guest. We'll be talking about something I find very interesting, and I'll say why. First of all, let me introduce the gentleman, Mr. Kyle Likwai, representing Bago Sports Beach Soccer Championship. So first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me,
Pleasure
sir.
Indeed. You know, growing up, a little boy playing beach in the sand, people think, that is just, for recreation, no big thing. Now we're seeing here is actual championship. No, I never knew about it. I apologize. I never knew about it. A championship, beach soccer championship. Now tell us, Mr. Likwai, how long has this been going on for? And the Bago, of course, comes from Tobago. How long has this been going on for?
We launched it back in 2010. So this year will be our 3rd year having this championship tournament.
So where I have been. Because but it's interesting because the reason why I'm saying that, and we're trying to get some clip because I know for a fact that many athletes use the sand, the beach, to train, to develop their legs and all of that and so forth. And I think people really underestimate the benefits for an athlete playing in the beach. What were some of the reasons? I'm just jumping out of a loop here. Would that be one of the reasons why you all embarked on this, to show people that playing soccer on the beach can actually be harder than playing on a field? I don't know, I'm just asking.
Well, it requires a lot of different skill sets. And a lot of people do use the sand for training. So imagine incorporating a soccer ball and the sand, which is very intense. We We found out about it because we went to a tournament in Virginia Beach a few years ago, and the whole beach was playing beach soccer, like structured with goals and everything. So we figured that they have sand in Virginia Beach, but their sand is nothing compared to what we have back in Trinidad and Tobago. So we brought it back here 3 years ago, and it's been going ever since.
And funny enough, I mean, we go to the beach, we play soccer on the beach, obviously football all the time, and never thinking that it's something that is taken seriously outside. But I'm glad you raised the point. Why do you think it is in Trinidad and Tobago we continually have this, what I would say, this challenge where, you know, only when we see people on the outside doing it, we take it seriously? Is this something that you all are trying to change now with this competition?
Right, and when we launched it initially, many local teams, we were just trying to get them to understand the sport and realize that there are opportunities for beach soccer outside. FIFA now has a beach soccer World Cup. So there's a World Cup every 2 years that FIFA hosts. So it gives players opportunity to play in a World Cup every 2 years as opposed to traditional grass, which is 4 years. So we're trying to show them that there are other opportunities in soccer, not just 2 sticks in the sand, but actual structure and tactics involved that these guys can use to play internationally.
If you were to further sell this point to someone, what are some of the other advantages of playing beach soccer?
Some of the other advantages are it's a very economically great sport to be involved in. You don't need to buy shin pads, you don't need to buy cleats, football boots, you don't need to buy socks. You just barefoot with your ball, and that's it. So it's a very cheap sport to play. It's good in terms of fitness, and also the skill sets required is that you need to lift the ball out of the sand, and a lot of the game entails chest trapping, using your thigh, using your legs. So these players now have a little more skill because they are actually doing a lot of these trapping, heading, and taking on the ball, and in sand. So it's a little difficult. So when they go into the grass, it's a little bit easier for them to transcend into the grass game from beach soccer.
Okay, you said a lot of teams have been entering the competition. Have you actually found that many seasoned, experienced players are actually entering this tournament to improve their own skills when they go and play for their teams, wherever across the country? Right.
Well, as you said before, a lot of people do it for preseason, right, before they go to their regular clubs. But now beach soccer has grown to be a year-round sport. There are professional leagues in Europe, professional leagues in Brazil. So we want to give Trinidad and Tobagoans the opportunity to go to Brazil and play beach soccer, or go to Europe during the summertime and play beach soccer. And eventually, we want to form a national team here in Trinidad and Tobago. We don't have a national team.
Impressive.
So let's get a national team going, enter some CONCACAF qualifiers, and let's take Trinidad and Tobago to a beach soccer World Cup.
So I gather that you all have been pushing hard to form this national team. What is the response that you all have received from the ministry thus far? I gather you may have met with ministry officials, even the minister himself on this.
Well, we got a lot of support from sport companies for this year. This tournament coming up, sport company is giving us a lot of help. They like the idea moving forward. They believe that this is an opportunity for us to embark on a new dynamic sport, and they're looking for these kind of initiatives. So yes, we've been speaking with the right officials, but we haven't gotten that audience as yet to really push what we're doing, and we're hoping after this tournament people can see what the sport is about and understand that there's a bigger picture to it and not just playing here in Trinidad and Tobago. And also we've been getting a lot of support from THA, Tobago House of Assembly. They have been with us from the first year, 2010, helping us with all the development programs, the youth clinics that we have every year.
Wonderful.
And they're pushing a lot of development, and they're also offering a prize for the local Tobago team that finishes in this tournament, to get these guys encouraged to play this sport as an opportunity outside of grass.
This is really encouraging indeed. Yeah. Now let's go to the actual competition itself.
All right.
Is it just like the regular football, 90 minutes, etc.? The rules involved. Let's kind of break it down for us. So break it down for like me, so you don't really know much about the actual, the structured element of soccer, beach soccer.
All right. Well, firstly, the game is 36 minutes long. It's 3 12-minute periods. So, but the clock stops every time the ball goes out of bounds, fouls, and these kind of things. So the clock stops. So it's actually 12 minutes of playing time per period. So 36 minutes is 5-on-5, 4 outfield players and a goalkeeper. The length of the field is 120 feet by 90 feet, right? And it's pretty intense. You can't play a full 12 minutes. You can't play a full 12 minutes.
It's really hard.
Yeah, like very few players can even run 6 or 7 minutes straight because they sub a lot. There's no like if you sub, you can't come back on. It's in and out subs, so guys can run in, run out when they're ready. So
in terms of the actual sand, the quality of the sand, I gather there'll be things that you'll be looking for. Is it that you, what exactly you look for? Because I know some beaches, the sand very, very high, very thick. Is that the kind of sand you'll look for to increase the level of difficulty, or you go for something flat?
No,
heavy?
we prefer to use sand that is heavy, because if it's flat, it takes away from the actually lifting the ball out and using the chest and acrobatic shots and stuff. If it's flat, it's basically playing on grass. You want to get away from that element. So we encourage using sand that's a little bit rough, it's a little bit dug up. And the team that came from the US last year, they said that the sand that they played on in Tobago was the best sand they've ever played on. In Fort Lauderdale, in Miami, and Virginia Beach, the sand is a little bit hard. So when they do a bicycle kick and they land on the sand, you know, they get some rubbing the side. So our sand in Tobago and Trinidad is exceptional.
And I gather that was one of the reasons why you all chose Tobago. You all wanted to help promote Tobago as a tourism destination. Is that one of the reasons? Or
Right.
Because of course you had Trinidad as well.
Right. Well, our company, Bago Sports, is twofold. You know, we want to push sports development, but we also want to get involved with the sports tourism market. So being Bago Sports, we wanted to start in Tobago. Firstly, access to the beaches is a little bit easier in Tobago than it is in Trinidad. And we got great support when we started. So we said, hey, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You know, so we kept going, we kept doing it in Tobago. But eventually we want to come to Trinidad and do something here as well, as we push to get this national program going.
Are you part of the team as well?
I wear many hats. I do train and play with the team if needed, but I prefer to stay on management side and get things going.
You're punking out.
Well, after 4 minutes on the sand, I'm ready to punk out.
Well, we had the flyer up on the screen. Let's get the flyer back up again and let's get some information. Of course, it's Bago Sports Beach Soccer Championship, November 2nd to the 4th at Turtle Beach Heritage Park in Tobago. There's top international and Caribbean teams.
Yes.
Food and drinks on sale. Of course, I agree. It really seems like a lot of fun for the whole family.
Yes.
And lots of giveaways. And of course, you can check them on Facebook at Bago Sports. Visit them at www.bagosports.com. And what has been the public response over the past couple of years to this event?
Oh, it's grown tremendously. The first year we brought teams from Antigua and Barbados. A lot of people in the Tobago communities came out. And last year we brought the US champions. And Guyana has a national team. Guyana also participated. So the following got huge last year. And now looking forward to this weekend, we've gotten great responses, great feedback, because we have a nice international lineup scheduled for this year.
How many teams do you have entering the competition?
We have 10 teams entering the tournament.
Can you list them quickly for us?
Yes, we have BSC Chargers from Switzerland. We have the US select team. We have Jamaica national team, Guyana national team, Brazil All-Stars, Stokely Vale, Trinidad, Bago Sports is hosting. We have a club team as well. Lambo FC, JP Ballers from Trinidad and Tobago, and we have one other Tobago team that is yet, they haven't given us their name, but they're a Tobago team. So nice lineup.
This, I wish I could go to Tobago so you can go.
And it's 15,000 US grand prize. So the team that wins the tournament goes in with 15,000 US grand prize. So these guys are coming. So if you're ready to train, we can hit the sand tomorrow morning.
Listen, when TV be sending a team too later?
No, send a team. Send a team.
Gary, some years I ain't play football, but I feel 50,000 US, we could split that. Line up a team. I ain't gonna know if I go last 3 minutes, but I will just. No, I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And it's free, so Fun for Your Family is free to come down and enjoy it. You know, just want to help popularize the sport and get people exposed to the beach soccer.
So $15,000 US first prize. What's the second prize?
Winner take all.
Really? Only hard, boy.
Yeah, so but there's a prize for the top Tobago team that finishes, 5,000 US for the top Tobago team that finishes in the tournament, because we're trying to encourage sport development in Tobago, which is our home base. Right?
Gary, we talk after. Talk to them boys, talk to Nigel. Yeah, so it was a pleasure, Mr. Lee. Thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you for having me.
All the best, of course, Bago Sports Beach Soccer Championship, November 2nd. That's this weekend to the 4th at Turtle Beach Heritage Park in Tobago. How much I could burn off in the next 3 days in the gym. When we come back, lots more Eyewitness News. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, welcome back. Well, from that very interesting and exciting segment about sports, you know, 15,000 US, them fellas ain't taking me serious, man. Let's form a team. I get we tail washing first 5 minutes, but hey, great experience. So let's return now to some other news while we turn our attention to our newsmaker segment. We're just going to take away from the tragedy in the United States for a while and deal with another burning issue in Trinidad and Tobago, that of course being crime and of course poverty. Now, last evening, the Minister of National Security, Jack Warner, and Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams met with the residents of the Beetham Gardens as they expressed their concerns about what's happening in the area. So we're going to shift our focus now from the ministers and the parliamentarians and hear from the voice of the people and hear what they had to say as they expressed their concerns to Minister Warner and Commissioner Williams. Let's go to our newsmaker.
This is the first time that I've received any information like this. They want me now to produce a certificate of good character. And if there is anyone in my house over 18, we had to produce a certificate of good character for them. Place it here. So, because I could make other statements and it goes sung way overboard. But this is not right. And we need something done about this now. And if I could get your word on this, because I could show this to every other resident here, you know, because this, for me, is discrimination. Because I don't think I had to go and apply for a house in no other district and provide a police certificate of good character.
Good evening to everyone. The Honorable Minister, Commissioner of Police, and all at the head table. My fellow citizens of Beetham Estate, good afternoon to you all. Good evening. To all the police officers, soldiers, everybody. I need to talk from my heart. And this evening, as you all could hear the cry of children, probably no one to keep them home. And if it's one thing I side with the minister, which he said at last, is these parents, have a lot of single parents in Beetham. A child, father, children, father might be in prison, might have the HIV, the mother, etc., might be in prison. You know, we have a lot of single parents and a lot of children inside here. And this Christmas is a hurtful Christmas. And we can't study Mr. Warner, the Honorable Minister, that if in 5 years, we take so long for a community center in 35 or 30 years, we, together with me in this community, we are community building, we are nation building. It never did. I don't say nothing bad. Not wanting you all to side with me, you know. Not wanting this administration to side with me. It never did. I ain't say nothing bad about the Donna Cox and the nylon epaulette. This administration could see that we are willing to work with you all. In time past, we used to burn tires. Any little thing we burning, we protesting, we demonstrating. And I heard the acting commissioner stated some nights ago on the press that there will be strict measures. If we watch world news, there's protests and demonstration going on all over the world. And we are not in a state of emergency. Our rights, and no one should infringe on it, is to protest and demonstrate, but not in the manner that some people may take it down by pelting a car, you know, snatching something. One more thing to add to that where the robbery is concerned, which you spoke about, Minister. And it have good and bad in everything. They have bright and have dark. I have great respect for the police officers. They might not have one or two, or at least I will say about 35%, which make the whole service look bad. Mostly constables sometimes. I want those that best so shit to tell the truth. I heard the Honorable Minister, which I always back, a tired man trying to help everybody, which is very hard for him. Now I'm speaking about Beetham now, and the police officers and the robbery. The police officers did not required those stolen items on the highway. It was chemists. Together with stretching out the Spanish, call along by me, if I see this one in the stop, call this one, you see that one in that tabai. And the perpetrator was done him over. And we get him to come back down and beat him, hand over everything, and hand it over to Inspector Singh. All of them look for no big fame. It's we who stop any robbery and beat them. It's we who saying you cannot rob. Yet you know police, this and that. Full respect. You see these lines of officers out there, these faces I seen? They are real community police. And I want everybody to applaud these officers out there. These officers, they know to care about their duty. And whoever put them in charge of community service, they cannot find a better job for them. They know the good morning. They know the good afternoon. They're nothing like 15 Regimental number 830. What I'm seeing here is not just hungry in the PNM time alone. My mother, my father, everybody, about 80% PNM. I not here on no political platform. You know. I send the whole to hell with the politician because no one seems to love the poor and the lower class of people. Another thing too, you all have the power to say, yeah, what? Ministers be getting together. As I tell people that my mother is deceased going in 4 years, I have 6 sisters. And I'm very proud we have a female as a prime minister. And if everybody get together, something can happen in the next week. Something can start. You just want something to do. Oh, God, Father, I just feel like if I was a minister or something they always come and they just come. Oh, God, Wilson, what did I have to do? I need to do something. That's something I was asked. I say, yeah, what? If I take whatever little change I get when the fortnight come, and yeah, what? Well, they want me to pay for little go classes, and I stretch out. I ask Mr. Ravi, you know, they just give me to maintain the wall at CJ, because I don't play with them. I not play with nobody. I get up and say my prayers after bathing. Every time I bathe, I pray. And I can say it, and I can turn and say it. The ministers, the former ones, like they have no love for the poor people. They seem, if you get 1 or 2, because in everything you must have 1 or 2 good. Right down this administration, crippling Uncle Jack. They're crippling him. He is trying. I ain't here to talk for him, you know. The man trying. But one, and I'm not trying to put everything in a nutshell. Honorable Minister, please. The people came in 4 weeks. This is one of the toughest moments beaten people had ever faced in history. More than in Shantytown days. Because we dated and painted as PNM. I don't know if nothing is for us. We have a holiday like a female. We have a Donna Cox. She didn't care about face. Look the situation in phase 4 and 5. In this modern day, in phase 4 and 5. No domestic drains. We have a little domestic drains down here and it's not properly. It's not properly. Water not flowing properly. Then we have this utility minister and the CEO master has some lady on TV saying, pay your water bill now. I want to tell you something. These lines down here were coded for years in Grenada. Everyone have a meter on their tap. You're just selling 10,000. Who in 15? Who in 12? Who in 16? Who in 8? Who in 4? That's some people who play big thing. I pay my own already. I said to everybody, don't pay a water rate. All have no meter on the pipe. The water still running rust when the morning come. But minister in a nutshell again, I always have it in a nutshell, but it's so much to talk about. Honorable Minister, and I want to call on Boya. Boya, come quick, come quick. Come, Boya. Honorable Minister, if you can get these, that canal which run parallel to this priority bus suit, that domestic canal, now the industrial canal and the domestic drains, if you can have these fellas let them come out, if you can have the councillors pick up the youths, and look, I went to the mayor with 5 of them youths on them. I told the mayor in PNM time, I said, hire these 5 youths. They may not have qualification as much, but what it's taking them to push a broom in the market and sweep. I know that they have a government job still, something they could fall on. I'm asking the councillors, these nasty, dirty councillors, they have one them, no, I ain't cracking no joke, you know. This is seriousness.
Okay, sir.
They have, no, that's wait. I want to get us quick, This is boy.
Very, very interesting indeed. I remember his face, actually. He was one of the individuals who was most upset about how the police dealt with him during the protest action that took place in result of the $69 per hour wage that was being offered. Per day, $69 per day that was being offered, and of course was upset about that. And he has been known to really speak out on the issues affecting the residents of Laventille and environs. And as he said today, actually, it may surprise some people, but he actually said that he's willing, and he's hoping that others are willing to give Minister Warner a chance, stating that, of course, certain members of the PNM, and he called names, you heard there for yourself, didn't really actually do the job for them over the years. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we go, of course, turn our attention to Diwali once again with a special guest from the NCIC. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News in this special segment, of course, as we pay attention to Diwali and, of course, the Diwali Nagar, which starts this weekend. And, of course, members of the NCIC, they've been coming on, of course, the program to talk about the various elements of what to take place over the 9 nights of the Nagar. And joining me, Mr. Dirup Timal, the cultural officer at the NCIC, will be giving us some insight into the purpose of the religious groups and NGOs that will be heavily involved or integrally involved in the Nagar this year. Welcome again to the program. I know you first come like
to be here.
Like a superstar once again. We met with various elements of various entities in connection with the Nagar. We met with the Queens yesterday. We spoke about the youth arm as well. Tell us about the significant role that the religious groups and the NGOs play into the success of the Nagar.
Well, actually, the religious groups forms the core of the Diwali Nagar celebrations. And since its inception, Diwali being a religious festival, socio-cultural festival as well, but we have cherished the initiative of encouraging religious groups to come into Diwali Nagar. We provide space free of charge to these religious groups. In addition, NGOs, established NGOs, where they can display to the public and interact with the public regarding the work that they are involved in.
What are some of these groups that have been, how should I say, providing or their services religiously, no pun intended, over the years towards Nagar? Because I'm sure there are those who have been there every single year. Some of you can actually point out that you'd like to make mention of at this time.
All right. Well, maybe in terms of certain categories, like definitely in terms of the devotional aspect, those groups, religious groups, involved heavily in Bhakti tradition or devotion. We have ISKCON, who has become, with the chanting of Hare Rama, Hare Krishna chanting, they have become the mark feature of Diwali Nagar. They would be coming back again this year. In addition to ISKCON, we have the yoga groups. The Brahma Kumaris Raj Yoga Center is there. The Yoga Meditation Society is there. Then some of the sects within the Hindu tradition, like the Kabir Panth Association would be there as well, Murugan Foundation. And also those groups who are involved in working amongst youths in the country, like the Hindu Students Council, the Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh, those groups would also be there. In addition to the NGOs, we have Diabetes Association, Heart Care Foundation, Alcoholics Anonymous, are always part of the Nagar.
And of course, you mentioned three, of course, all along the stemming the line of healthcare. And I know that's something, when it comes to healthy living, it's not just a physical thing, but it's a spiritual thing as well. I know that's something that you all promote very heavily at the Nagar. Is that not so?
Yes, it's so, because a lot of these diseases are health style diseases, chronic diseases. And we encourage the public to attend the booths of these NGOs. In fact, a lot of them get tested at the booths, sometimes for the first time, for blood sugar levels and all of those things.
Interesting that you mentioned that, and I'm glad that you had the forum today to talk about that, because I'll be honest, I'm wondering to myself how many of the visitors, or the thousands or even millions of visitors over the years, let's say hundreds of thousands, that came over the years would have actually been aware that you actually have people doing testing.
Yeah, well, it's, we try to publicize it as much as possible because, of course, the commercial section engages the attention of a lot of persons who are there for shopping and taking in the cultural shows. But all of these booths, including religious booths, are within the circular, or the dome, as we say, within the Nagar. And I think over the years, we do have a lot of people streaming through.
Wonderful. So are you satisfied with the response? Are you seeing more and more NGOs coming forward to be part of the Nagar as well as religious groups? Or would you still like to see a greater participation by more of the groups out there?
Actually, the booths that we have available, they are oversubscribed every year. And we are
I'm not surprised because
we are actually looking at creating more spaces where we could accommodate a lot more groups.
Because it's literally a mammoth task to enter the Nagara site anytime after 6 or 5 on an evening.
That's the thing with the parking. And right now with the religious groups and NGOs, we have, it's about 25 groups.
Wow.
Accommodated within that space. So it's like everybody learning to live with each other. And sometimes, with the yoga, it's meditation, silence, and all of things. And then you would have music being played and next door and all of those things. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I think we all try to work together for those 9 nights. And at the end of the day, I think all of the groups who do come and participate in this section of the Diwali Nagar are very well pleased with the response.
And I think, it's important because, of course, every year you can learn from, from the year before how to adjust. And I'm sure that there are ways that you can probably shift around tents to accommodate everyone, because this event, I tell everybody it's a national event. It's not just about East Indian culture. You have everyone. I mean, I can say over the years, millions, because the amount of people that come every year to the Nagar, and it's a national event. So, every year I see, things looking a little different. You're seeing more and more different elements being applied to the Nagar. So I want to congratulate the NCIC, first of all, for a fabulous display every year.
Well, that is why the religious groups in particular, they welcome, non-Hindus in particular, because it's an opportunity to disseminate information, to build an understanding, because of the society that we are a multicultural society.
Definitely.
And the more we understand each other and our beliefs and our practices, it augurs well for the future.
Anything you'd like to say before we wrap up on this segment in terms of the religious groups? And also, please give any numbers or contact of anybody, any website, Facebook, anything that they can reach you all to get more information if they would like to take part in one way or the other.
All right. Well, what I would say is that visiting the Diwali Nagar, definitely include the dome area where the religious groups and NGOs are housed. Definitely make that part of your Diwali Nagar experience, because the experience would not be complete without visiting that section of Diwali Nagar.
See the true tradition of Diwali in terms of the religious aspect. Well, Mr. Timala, a pleasure as always for coming. And of course, you're going to be, during the course of the week, more representatives will be coming from the NCIC. Talk about what you can experience come starting this Sunday. That's right, this Sunday when the Nagar officially opens. Mr. Timal, a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming on the program. Up next, we have our Evening Edition News with Samantha Ratton at 7 o'clock. I am Sheldon Nyewood. Be good to yourselves and God bless. Take care.